Welcome everyone to the launch of EnergyLab Scaleup Program, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is James Tilbury. I'm the CEO of EnergyLab and your host for this event. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we work today and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people watching. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to say a huge thank you to all the individuals and organisations who have come together to make this program possible. In particular, I'd like to thank our major Scale-Up program sponsors, Arena, APA and Powerlink, all of which you'll get to meet throughout this event. This event has four main parts. First, we'll give Arena the floor to say a few words. I'll then hand you over to my colleague Riley to tell you more about EnergyLab, our Scale-Up program, and announce the cohort. I'll then invite each of the startups to this virtual stage to introduce them along with a couple of our sponsors. And then in about an hour and 15 minutes, we'll move into breakout rooms so you can learn more about the startups that you're most interested in. Now, this is a long event, particularly for an online event, but I'd really encourage you to stick around to the end and actively participate in those breakout sessions, because they're a rare opportunity to engage with 13 very impressive and impactful energy startups, all from the comfort of your chair. We'll explain how those breakout rooms work later in the event, but for anyone who hasn't used Hopin before, I would like to draw your attention to the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We won't be taking audience questions until we get to those breakout sessions, but I would encourage you all to introduce yourselves in that chat box. Okay, I would now like to invite Nick Zeltzer to the stage. Nick is an investment manager at Arena and leads the innovation initiative A-Lab. He's also a long-term supporter of EnergyLab, for which we're very grateful. Welcome, Nick. The stage is yours.
Thanks, James. Good to be here. Let me just get my presentation up. Let me know when you can see it.
Looks good.
Great. Morning, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nick Zeltzer, as James said. I lead a lot of Arena's early stage ecosystem work. So I lead our innovation lab called A-Lab. I sit on the Arena side of the fence of the Clean Energy Innovation Fund, which is a $200 million venture capital fund, which is run by our good colleagues at the CEFC. And I also get to work on all manner of funding applications, interesting funding applications, one of which was the EnergyLab proposal. And so I guess that's a really helpful segue to say that Arena is really thrilled to be supporting the EnergyLab Scale-Up program and the role that they play in the sector. I'll just be saying a few words on behalf of Arena, talk about how the work that we do fits in nicely with what EnergyLab's trying to achieve, and say a few things about the startups. So thanks very much, James. In terms of Arena's purpose, hopefully we've gotten the word out there in the last 8 or so years, but we're a federal government agency that provides grant funding to accelerate the shift to renewable energy. And so since we've been around, we've invested $1.6 billion or so of grant funding into projects. That's catalysed about $6.5 billion of total project value. And those numbers aren't as important for today's event as much as the spread of technologies that we've funded. So clearly a lot of the work that Arena's done has gone into initially the large-scale solar industry, bringing the cost of that industry down. But now that renewable energy is the lowest cost form of generation, a lot of our focus has moved to other areas, really focusing on how to integrate that higher levels of renewables into the electricity system. And so certainly from the startups you'll be hearing from today, it's really great to see a broad spread of the technologies that they're trying to have adopted. So we've got an EV company, a number of storage companies, some hydrogen businesses as well, some marketplaces, some VPPs, so some drones as well. So it's been great to see that breadth. And also from the Arena perspective, we've clearly had a very real geographic breadth around Australia, and we've got that as well in today's program. You'll be hearing from startups based in Sydney, from Melbourne, from Brisbane, from Perth. I think there's one in Newcastle, and there's actually a couple thrown in internationally for good measure. So it's great to see that breadth in the EnergyLab program as well. In terms of the work that Arena does in this sector, clearly funding is one aspect, and we've actually invested about $300 million of grant funding into startups developing projects. And so I think at that level, that actually makes us, not just in renewables or clean tech, but in any tech, one of the larger investors into startups in Australia over the last few years. So that's definitely worth keeping in mind. And some of our portfolio is there, hopefully on their way to becoming household names, just like the companies you'll be hearing from today. But Arena really recognises that alongside funding and investors, a really key part of the sector is the ecosystem support. like EnergyLab brings to the table. So we've been running events that provide showcases with our good partners at Innovation Bay. We've got our A-Lab, which is trying to help generate ideas and also shape them, and has resulted into funding to certain projects like Illume, which is probably a good point to end on. I wanted to kind of talk about the startup journey of one particular startup at the moment that's sort of had a bit of success and seems to be kicking some goals. Illume actually won the Clean Energy Council Innovation Award a few weeks ago, and they're the first startup in, I think, 5 years or so to actually won that award. And it certainly made me stop and think, well, why is that? What is it that they have? And sort of brings out about 4 or 5 really key themes and how they apply today. First of all, they've got a really great technology that's solving a really identifiable market problem. So the Illume SolShare works out how to split solar on a common roof to a set of different tenants. It's got a really great founding team and entrepreneur in Cameron Knox, and I think you'll be hearing from a number of great entrepreneurs and up-and-coming founders, Australian founders today. And a really key theme on this slide is really the amount of ecosystem support that Illume has been able to benefit from. And definitely not taking anything away from Cameron and the team, but certainly you can see the value in having early stage acceleration. They attended an international accelerator in Hawaii that bore fruit into a international partnership. Arena's played a role in showcasing them in some ways. And now they're into a free electrons global utility program, which is sort of paving their way to not just be a relevant player in Australia, but also overseas. And then the last theme I just wanted to touch on, and that Arena really recognises, and that we're happy that EnergyLab is also following this, is just the role of corporate partners and how important they are to the sector in creating thriving startups that come through. Mirvac were clearly willing to kind of take that lead in 2018 and be engaged in that initial pilot with Illume. And there's probably no surprise that by 2019, Illume as well was able to get some startup funding from Mirvac Ventures. So that's all I wanted to really say today. We're really excited at Arena about this program, and now it's over to the startups to present and wow you all with the great businesses that they're building. So thanks very much, James.
Thanks a lot, Nick, and thanks again for your support and the support of your colleagues. We'll be here today without you. So we'll now like to invite EnergyLab's Program Manager, Riley McAuliffe, to the stage for one last quick presentation before we announce the cohort. Over to you, Riley.
Thank you, James. Hi, everyone. My name is Riley McAuliffe, and I'm the manager of EnergyLab Scaleup Program. It is my absolute pleasure today from my living room to introduce EnergyLab, the program, and the startups participating. EnergyLab is Australia's largest cleantech accelerator and network dedicated to the clean energy transition. We work with talented entrepreneurs and innovative companies to deploy clean energy solutions. We have supported over 100 startups since launching in 2017 and have supported Australia's best founders to develop relationships with the mentors, investors, and advisors they need to succeed. We've helped them to overcome challenges, grow their businesses, and raise capital. The startups we have worked with have raised millions in equity investment and deployed clean energy solutions nationwide. You can read more about the wonderful startups we have worked with on our website, and you'll be even meeting some of our esteemed alumni today. We support startups through a series of programs and initiatives designed to support entrepreneurs at each stage of their journey. We assist the aspirational entrepreneur through our Women in Clean Energy Fellowship and cleantech 20 program. Through our acceleration program, we assist the best new startups to grow as they begin generating revenue. Our angel group helps startups raise and close seed funding rounds. Our virtual membership offering connects cleantech founders across Australia, and we run events to grow the cleantech community, such as this one, and publish research to share our insights. And today, we are thrilled to be launching our newest offering, our Scaleup program. Our Scaleup program is designed to connect scale-ups to the people they need to succeed. First and foremost, the program is fostering collaboration between the program participants and our 10 excellent industry partners, which you can see on the screen. We've already facilitated 65 meetings between the 18 finalists for this program and our industry partners. Over the next 6 months, we'll be helping to deepen relationships with the partners and the selected startups. The most active energy sector startup investors have volunteered as program mentors, from high net worth individuals and family offices to venture capital firms and debt providers. The founders will engage with them throughout the program to accelerate their next funding round. Given the founders in the program have a wealth of experience and expertise between them, they will have the opportunity to learn from each other through peer-to-peer learning sessions. The startups have already spent time this week with some of Australia's most successful entrepreneurs, including Loic Barancourt, Phil Blythe, and Philip Livingston. And throughout the program, they will continue to connect with our extensive mentor network. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, drum roll please. It is time to meet the startups and founders in the program. After an incredibly competitive selection process, it is my absolute pleasure to confirm the 13 startups joining the program from Australia, over the Tasman and overseas. They are Amperon, Aurtra, Evergen, Everty, Gridcognition, Hiringa Energy, Infravision, MGA Thermal, Powerpal, Renewable Energy Hub, UPowr, Utility API, and Zenogen. I'll now hand back to James, who will introduce you to each of them and a couple of our sponsors. Thank you, James.
Thanks a lot, Riley. Now, on to the main event. As Riley mentioned, we're going to introduce each of these founders one at a time and ask them a few questions. So we'll start with Zenogen. I'd like to invite Dan Zafir to the stage. Dan is the co-founder and CEO of Zenogen, who are bringing the promise of hydrogen refueling to reality.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here.
Great to have you here. So Dan, tell us, what exactly are you refueling and why did you pick that particular vehicle type to start with?
Yeah, definitely. So Zenogen originally was a spin out from the University of New South Wales with a clean, green way of generating hydrogen. And so it was very clear which direction we were headed. And when it comes to fueling electric vehicles with hydrogen, the best use cases are heavy commercial vehicles, anything that requires long range or high uptime or carries large loads. And so we discovered that the best use cases are garbage trucks, would you believe? They provide the best return on investment for both the customer and us, the gas generator. So that's where we are.
Fantastic. And who doesn't love a garbage truck? So it sounds like you picked a really good niche to start into this hydrogen economy. So Stan, you come from a medical background as a clinical researcher and medtech commercialization specialist. There's a lot of interesting parallels between cleantech and medtech, but what drew you to start a green hydrogen company?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of chance, a little bit of luck, but it was definitely an intentional switch by the end. And so after an early career in clinical neuroscience and neuroscientific research, I went back to business school. And while I was on campus, I met a brilliant professor who actually had invented the original technology that we spun into Zenogen. And so actually a lot of the skills and techniques that we used are parallel. So, the development of clean technology also is engineering heavy, and it requires lots of capital and long lead times. And so a lot of the skills were translatable, but I found clean technology to be far more interesting and sexy actually to play in. So,
as we said, garbage trucks, super sexy.
Super.
So tell us, you're moving really quickly. What are you hoping to achieve over the next 6 months?
Our next 6 months are going to be incredibly exciting. We're putting together, we're in the final stages of launching a vehicle trial. So we've been working with a local city council in New South Wales. Unfortunately, we can't name them yet, but to electrify 18 trucks in their fleet, 18 garbage trucks, and put a bespoke refueling station on site. The program itself will be one of the first of its kind in the world to be operating vehicles at that size and scale. And we've already organized all of our partners, including the major OEM vehicle supplier and all of the technology suppliers. And so essentially, we're in the final stages of securing the capital required to launch. The council is committed and they're putting up about a third of the $30 million project. And so we're just locking down the remaining capital and then obviously getting trucks on the road.
Fantastic. It sounds like there's a lot of different organizations you need to coordinate with. Is there anyone in particular you're looking to connect with at this stage?
Yeah, definitely. And in particular, specifically for this project, I think Project financiers, including the government agencies. Obviously, we're working with ARENA at the moment and the New South Wales Department of Industry as well. But if you have the ability or desire to contribute to this project, either as a grant funder or an investor, we'd love to speak to you. We're also working with utilities, and we have a broader growth strategy. Energy is probably the biggest cost driver of hydrogen at this stage, and being able to access super cheap, clean, green energy and scaling with that is also very important to us. And obviously, we'd like to move from project 1 through 10 and 100. And so if you are a customer, if you're a local government who operates a garbage truck fleet, or if you're a private operator, we'd love to hear from you about project 2 onwards.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dan. We'll let you head off. That was Dan Zafir from Zenogen. Go chat to him about hydrogen garbage trucks in the breakout sessions afterwards.
Thanks very much, James.
Okay, I would now like to invite Terry Woodcroft to the stage. Terry is the co-founder and COO of Aurtra, who optimize transformer fleet management with their multi-sensor probes and dashboards. Hi, Terry.
Hi, everyone.
So, Terry, your technology is already installed in 2/3 of Australian distribution utilities, which is massive. So can you tell us, from your experience, how do they typically manage their transformer assets before you come along, and what does Aurtra allow them to do better than they might do by themselves?
Sure. So to set the scene, transformers have a 30 to 50-year lifespan. So many are pre-tech age, if I can frame it like that. Before, Aurtra utilities and large power users relied on their experienced engineers who had years of history with those transformers to understand their sporadic data to make decisions on transformer maintenance and replacement. So now with Aurtra, for a low-cost installation, they have access to continual online data and automated transformer health insights, embedded standards, global best practice. That means better decisions and better asset utilization. Now, aged transformer replacement is a $1 trillion global infrastructure capital problem. So extracting maximum life out of those transformers is really important, not just in Australia, but around the world.
Yeah, fantastic. The smart grid in action. But Terry, let's talk about you. You have a very interesting career to date. You've served on the board of a number of venture-backed companies, including Brisbane Materials, which received investment from Southern Cross Venture Partners, and a lot else in this space. So how do you think your time on boards of these startups and your other experience with startups has informed how you're running Aurtra today?
Well, the 3 founders, Steve and Richard and myself, have all raised venture capital in both Australia and the US. We've all rolled out products globally and have taken startups through to acquisition. That collective experience means we understand what is important and we know how to execute more efficiently, I guess, less thrashing around. It means we can be laser focused on creating value, the fun and the satisfaction of solving real problems for our customers, and for building that incremental business value for our investors, a happy customer base, revenue growth, defendable IP.
Yeah, so less pivoting, more just executing.
For fun.
And more fun. So, as I said, you already have a large share of the Australian market. What are you hoping to achieve in the next 6 months?
So we're hoping to go close to cash flow break even then, expand our penetration with those customers we have in Australia. We're also targeting around 20 satisfied customers across Europe, Asia, North and South America. We're installing many trials in those regions at the moment for the first time. So by 6 months, we want to be validated and rolled out further within that customer base. And the fourth thing, we'd like to have progressed our current trials with global OEMs. So it's heading towards a serious global rollout agreement with them. So lots on.
Yeah, fantastic. And before we let you go, is there anyone in particular you're looking to connect with?
I'd be delighted to meet those who own transformer assets, who are interested in industrial IoT in general, and investors who are interested in our progress.
Fantastic. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, James.
That was Terry Woodcroft from Aurtra. Go and chat to her about transformers in the breakout sessions afterwards. I would now like to invite Cameron Vanderberg and Chris Cox to the stage, the founders of Infravision. Their startup deploys unmanned aerial systems for power line construction. Hey, Chris.
G'day, how you going?
Okay, good. So tell us, and hi, Cam.
Hi, James. Great to be here.
Good to have you here. Now, Chris, tell us, how are power lines traditionally constructed, and what's the advantage of building them with drones apart from just being more interesting?
Yeah, one of the hardest parts of constructing power lines is actually stringing the conductor from tower to tower or structure to structure. Traditionally, they used to use large crossbows and mortars and things like that in the early 40s and 50s. And recently, they've transitioned to using helicopters for this important task. What our technology does is we combine drone assets as well as ground electrical winching systems and electrical power units and high strength synthetic ropes in a system that essentially performs the task the helicopter does. We've got a number of benefits. We're a low carbon option compared to obviously turbine powered machines. We significantly lower the risk to both the operators of those machines and ground crews on the construction sites. And because we string under tension, we significantly decrease the requirement for easement clearing, which has considerable environmental implications when we're talking about natural flora and fauna, agricultural farmland, as well as residential areas. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're very focused in this market vertical, and we're very focused in looking at solving the problems for grid connection.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, I think a lot of people watching will understand the importance of transmission lines for transitioning to 100% renewable energy. And it sounds like you're not only supporting that, but doing so in an environmentally and low carbon way as well.
That's right.
So, Cam, let's jump to you. You've already founded 2 tech startups with a successful exit. I wonder if you could share about how you think the experience has helped shape your approach to Infravision and get it to where it is today.
Yeah, thanks, James. Look, previously founding software startup has really helped me to understand how to take a customer-centric approach to solving technical challenges. And that customer-centric approach has really helped us in our journey with Infravision grow and scale a technical team that's laser focused on solving the customer's problem. Also, while scaling a team, we have to do so on some pretty tight budget constraints. So those skills have held us in really good stead in our journey with Infravision scaling so far.
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of the serial entrepreneurs in the cohort essentially is enabled you to move quicker, focus on the things important, and not going down those dead ends as often as you might otherwise. And one of those, I guess, quick wins you've got is getting TransGrid as one of your earliest customers. So for those who don't know, they're one of Australia's largest transmission network operators. So given that, so what's next for Infravision?
Yeah, so I guess, look, working with one of Australia's leading transmission network service providers has been great for us, allow us to move really quickly. So first of all, what's next is really looking after our existing customers and making sure we can deliver on the large-scale transmission projects that we have in front of us in the domestic market. They include some of the country's largest interconnectors and some really great long-term projects to apply our technology on. From there, we're really looking to take on some of the international opportunities we've been presented with and scale our technology overseas.
Yeah, fantastic. So is there anyone that you two are looking to connect with at the moment?
Yeah, I think in the breakout rooms, it'd be great to meet anybody from the transmission network service providers or anybody that's interested in learning how our drone systems are used to construct high voltage power lines.
Great, sounds good. Thanks, guys. We'll let you head off.
Thanks, James.
Cheers. It was Cam and Chris from Infravision. So go and have a chat to them about building power lines with drones later on. I would now like to invite Pete Neal to the stage. Pete is the CEO of Powerpal, who connects your electricity meter to your smartphone and wirelessly tracks in real time exactly how your home is using energy. Hey, Pete.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good. So Pete, tell us, are there enough different types of smart meters out there on the market already? Why do we need a Powerpal?
It's a fantastic question, James. So this year will see us pass more than 1 billion smart meters installed globally, and that trend certainly isn't slowing down. Smart meters are a key enabler for the energy transition, allowing distributed generators to get paid and delivering significant operational dividends to the industry. But the value-added benefits that are anticipated to be delivered from this new infrastructure are still an area of ongoing development. The smart meters themselves do a fantastic job of what they were designed to do, which is billing, but as a platform on which to build customer engagement, there's a clear and obvious gap. In the Netflix age, where consumers expect digital services to be interactive, customer experience is built on day-old, half-hour interval data. They just don't cut it. So we founded Powerpal with a vision to unlock high-speed data feeds from existing AMI infrastructure, which allows us to develop new customer experiences that sweat those assets harder and unlock the latent demand management dividends that often form a key part of the business case for smart meter rollouts.
Yeah, fantastic. So it sounds like you make smart meters as smart as people think they should be in the first place.
That's the aim.
Sounds great. So Pete, tell us, before founding Powerpal, you spent more than a decade in the telecoms industry, and a lot of parallels between telecoms and energy. So how do you think that experience has shaped your approach to Powerpal?
Sure. So my previous business built mobile customer engagement platforms for telcos, predominantly in Asia Pac. And for the first few years of my time in that space, the telcos worked predominantly with walled gardens, where they essentially dictated to their customers what services they could access and on what terms. But as the advent of smartphones came along around 2010, those walls started to come down and the networks became more open. And this allowed OTT players like WhatsApp and device app stores to take a pretty significant share away from the telco's traditional revenue streams, almost overnight. And this required them to make a rapid pivot towards platform delivery to support those new third-party services. And to us, there's a clear parallel between that telco experience and the rapid adoption of distributed generation. We now have more than 30% of Australian homes that have become prosumers. And this creates challenges in that the traditional model of distributing and selling a kilowatt hour is being disrupted, but it also presents significant opportunities to deliver energy consumers compelling new services that support their investment in those behind-the-meter technologies. So as the energy industry continues to move towards a more open model, we feel it's vital to keep a laser focus on the changing customer need, as well as the changing system requirements. And that's a defining purpose of the team here at Powerpal.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think one thing your experiences enable you to do is move quickly. You already have two of the big three gentailers as customers. So what's next for Powerpal over the next 6 months?
Yeah, so we're super busy. So we're currently undertaking a large-scale rollout of Powerpal's technology in Victoria with the backing of the Victorian government, which will see Powerpal rolled out to hundreds of thousands of households across the state. So delivery on that project's a key focus for us over the next 6 months. But then also, as you mentioned, we're working with both larger and smaller utilities to pilot how the delivery of digital energy solutions to consumers can be enhanced using our real-time data feeds, with a particular focus on demand management applications and helping to drive customer retention. So we're really excited to be helping those utilities bring their ideas out to the mass market.
Great. So with that in mind, who are you looking to connect with at the moment?
Yeah, so we're focused on how we can best leverage digital engagement in the energy space to drive value in both directions. So partnering with consumers to deliver value back to our government and utility partners. Energy efficiency and critical peak demand management are key areas of interest for us. So if you're a retailer, a distributor, or an energy innovator working on customer engagement with small energy customers, we'd love to meet you in the breakout session and share our insights in the space.
Fantastic. Thanks, Pete. I'll let you go. So that was Pete Neal from Powerpal. Go and chat to him about smart meters. So powering on with the entrepreneurs, I would now like to invite Sean Kelly to the stage. Sean is the CEO of Amperon, who combines machine learning with deep energy and meteorology expertise to provide energy supplies and best-in-class electricity demand forecasts. Sean is calling in from the US. Hi, Sean.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you here. Now, Sean, tell us, why is forecasting electricity consumption important, and how is it that you can do it better than most?
Yeah, absolutely. It is extremely important just because demand patterns are changing. That's really what we saw just when we decided to found Amperon. Because, I mean, every time someone buys an electric vehicle, puts a solar rooftop, which is extremely prevalent in Australia, puts a Tesla Powerwall 2 in, the demand side of things changes. And so forecasting is getting harder and harder. People are worried about long-term planning. You've obviously, as we've addressed, as other companies have addressed, power lines are very crucial. And so with that, knowing what the demand is just helps planning on all fronts. The way we look at it is just really having an interesting team. We have deep energy expertise. I personally have been running and monetizing power plants for over half my career, about 12 years. And then with that, we take data scientists that just aren't in energy, in all honesty, They were working at high frequency trading firms and Microsoft Research. And so they were passionate about climate change and so came in to help us solve this. And then lastly, just the way we look at meteorology. Meteorology is the hardest part to figure out. If you can answer that question, it's a $100 billion company. But we use the best that we can possibly find, have a PhD meteorologist on staff. And so because of that, are able to be the most accurate demand side forecast out there.
Fantastic. It sounds like you've built a great team around you.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate.
Yeah. Now, Sean, this isn't the first company you've set up. You previously founded Bridge Power Consulting, which was acquired by Renewable Energy. And I'm wondering how the experience with that company has shaped your approach to Amperon.
Yeah, it was a great experience. What we did there is we worked with large commercial and industrial customers. And so now we're working with suppliers who are serving these customers. So when you know what your customers need, which is what I learned at Bridge, how the end user thinks, how the end user acts, it really helps a whole lot. I also learned that repeatable process is extremely important in being able to scale. And so we're fortunate to be venture backed this time. And then just from that, being able to scale, we've produced in Texas and then Australia, and then now on the East Coast in the United States. And so just from that, it helps to have other people's money so you can just kind of pour fuel on the fire when you're hot as opposed to just kind of bootstrapping. So definitely a great experience, but also taught me a lot just about the customer, which at the end of the day is who everyone's trying to make happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this isn't your first step into the Australian market, and you're already working with AEMO, the Australian Energy Market Operator. So what else are you hoping to achieve over the next 6 months, either in Australia or in your home market?
Yeah, Australia to us is the most interesting market out there, just because, I mean, the solar penetration is amazing. I've learned through this program that we don't only care about peak load, we care about minimum load as well. And then we see a whole bunch of the Tesla batteries here, which is extremely interesting to work with. And unfortunately, climate change. Australia's seen climate change worse than anyone. And all of these things are going to be happening across the entire globe if they haven't already. And so just with Australia, it's been kind of a peek into the future. And so we've already met some great companies through this, but definitely excited to meet more, just as anyone who wants to work with us on the crazy demand patterns that we're seeing now, even through COVID, is extremely welcome.
Yeah. Is there anyone else you'd like to connect with beyond companies willing to engage with your forecasting software?
Yeah, I mean, our bread and butter is really our short-term 15-day forecast. We've also looked into a 4-year forecast. And so anyone who thinks that's interesting and could possibly help their bottom line by increased accuracy would be happy to talk to. And so, yeah, I've definitely looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Great to have you in the program and great to have your company helping us out in the Australian energy sector.
Thanks a lot, James.
That was Sean Kelly from Amperon. Go and chat to him about electricity demand forecasting. Okay, I would now like to invite another US entrepreneur, Devin Hampton, to the stage. Devin is the CEO of Utility API, who provide easy, secure, functional access to energy data. Hey, Devin.
Hey, James.
So, Devin, hundreds of energy companies are already using a Utility API, including some really small companies like GE, ENGIE, and Mitsubishi Electric. So these are, all jokes aside, very well-resourced organizations who could develop stuff like this themselves if they wanted to. So what do you enable them to do that they can't do better themselves?
Well, first, we have an incredible team, and they know that. And so when they're looking for the best in the business, they come to us. But actually, what we do, we've seen that these companies actually can't do themselves. And the reason being is what we help them do is these companies have a huge challenge. You know, when you're a startup, they tell you to fix one thing. We actually fix two things. We help these companies get access to the energy data that they need for their projects. When you talk about the innovative technologies that most energy companies provide now, whether that's batteries, solar panels, energy efficiency, they all need to get data on individual customers from utilities. Well, that's really hard to do for two reasons. First, it's private data. You have to ask for permission to get it. So we make it easy for them to ask for that permission. The other thing is that data is not standardized. Every utility, retailer, distribution company, they all have different ways of sharing that data or showing it. So without us, these large companies would have to build an individual connection or system for each utility. What we've done is we offer them a one-stop shop to get the data they need for their projects. They can use utility API across the entire US basically to ask for that permission to see the data and then get the data so they can move on and do their projects. For us, the good data is just the beginning of their service. So they rely on us to make that happen.
Yeah, fantastic. So by the sounds of it, dealing with consumer utility data is a massive headache, and they'd much rather just hand that over to you to do well with your amazing team, do it themselves.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So Devin, let's chat about you. Before taking over leadership of Utility API, you had a successful career in government, including serving in Obama's administration as Chief of Staff of the US Trade and Development Agency. So tell us, that's a very different career to what you're doing now. Are there any parallels, and has that helped prepare you for your current role?
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of parallels. First, working in government is, especially the U.S. government, it may be one of the world's largest bureaucracies. Bureaucracies aren't bad. Primarily, they may get a bad rap, but they help make prudent, good decisions that have big impacts. Well, when you're talking about the energy sector, it's also a pretty risk-averse sector that likes to take its time to make sure it's doing the right thing. So as an innovative company that is selling products and services to energy companies, that mindset that I was able to cultivate in the government really helps to understand what they're looking for. Beyond that, I also, as you said, trade and development. I spent most of my career working overseas, completely different markets from each other. And so understanding where the opportunities were and how best to, leverage what's already happening to just improve a little bit more was my job. And doing that now in the energy space just comes second nature.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you in the sector, and it looks like your trade and development, experience has led you to Australia among other places. So tell us, what are you hoping to achieve here over the next 6 months?
Yeah, Australia is very exciting for us. We provide a service, again, that helps to kind of untangle this consumer data issue. And Australia is looking at a new regulatory environment for the energy space called the Consumer Data Right. And it's how are consumers in Australia going to be able to safely and securely share data between the different pieces of the energy network? Mm-hmm. We've been, pleasantly surprised to see that a lot of the tools that we've already built for the U.S. market and beyond fit snugly right into what's being proposed in Australia. And so our goal is to see how we can assist and how we can support based on what software we already have available.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there anyone in particular you're looking to connect with to achieve that goal?
Yeah, so just as I mentioned, there's basically 3 buckets, right? If you are on the regulatory or the policy side, we'd love to talk to you about how you help just discuss what we can do to make your policy and regulatory goals come to fruition. If you're a retailer or a utility, and you're looking for ways to be able to operationalize some of these tools, we'd love to talk to you. And if you are a solar company or a battery company, and you're looking to understand how you can easily get the data you need for your projects, I'd love to talk to you as well.
Fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Devin. I'll let you head off.
All right. Thank you.
That was Devin Hampton from Utility API. I want to chat to him later about sharing utility consumer data. I would now like to invite Carola Jonas to the stage. Carola is the CEO of Everty, one of EnergyLab's alumni. They provide a cloud-based software-as-a-service platform to companies installing electric vehicle charging infrastructure that enables them to monitor, manage, and monetize their assets. Hi, Carola.
Hey, James.
So, Carola, what is the problem exactly that Everty solves, and why is that important for accelerating the uptake of electric vehicles in Australia?
Yes, there's obviously the bigger picture of climate change and how we have to transition to net zero emissions by 2050. And I guess so with that, it is inevitable that we have to clean up emissions from transport. But every time when we speak with people who are buying electric vehicles or considering it, and there's a lot of people considering it at the time, they're saying, but I can't see any public charging stations. How do I charge my car? What do I do at home or at work? And so what we're really doing is we're helping companies to establish and operate charging stations, whether that's in our built environment, in public locations, or in private locations, and then really make it easy for them and to also get a return on their investment. So the more charging stations we have, the more EVs we will buy or people will buy. So it's really just speeding that up to get us to that net zero emissions target sooner.
Yeah, fantastic. Corolla, just at a upper level, in the last few years, you've done a great job of establishing yourself as a thought leader on electric vehicles, speaking regularly on the topic, and you sit on the board of the Electric Vehicle Council of Australia. So wondering from that more high-level industry perspective, what do you think needs to happen for EV uptake in Australia to increase?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So we're obviously seeing a big disruption where transport, energy, and infrastructure or property comes together. And so that creates a massive challenge in aligning all these industries and sectors, but also creating the policies that are needed for that alignment. So clearly, as I said before, all states in Australia have targets for net zero emissions. On a federal level, we still don't have that same target, even though federal has to abide by it if all the states do it. So I think there's one thing of policy, but it's really working with the property and energy sector to get ready to build that new infrastructure so that we can support the industry.
And coming back to Everty, what are you hoping to do over the next 6 months towards this end of accelerating charging and EV uptake?
Well, we want to see lots of charging stations going into public locations, but especially into like the property sector. And obviously energy companies, they want to sell energy, and there's no easier way than selling energy through an EV charger to an EV driver. So yeah, hopefully we'll be working with lots of industry participants.
So it sounds like you might be looking to connect with energy utilities, but anyone in particular you're looking to connect with at this point?
Well, to be honest, like there's not a particular company, but really property and energy companies are the main goals. But any company that is actually looking at EVs, like a lot of corporates are transitioning their fleets and they need charging at their offices. So anybody who's touching EVs, we're very happy to talk to them in the breakout sessions.
Great. Cool. Well, that note will let you head off Corolla. That was Corolla Jones from Everty. Go and chat to her about electric vehicles in the breakout sessions or reach out to her afterwards.
Thank you.
I would now like to invite Fabian Legay onto the stage. Fabian is the co-founder and CEO of Gridcognition, whose technology plans and optimizes distributed energy systems. Hi, Fabian.
Hi there.
Fabian, what problem do you solve and how do people currently solve that problem?
Well, I guess we've built technology to optimize the planning and operations of distributed energy projects through simulation machine learning. So I guess we mean projects like microgrids and virtual power plants. And I guess what we've seen to date is there are some specialized tools that people use, but in general, these projects are planned with Excel. And we think we've got better ways to do that with software.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, Fabian, talk about you. You previously founded GreenSense, which was acquired by Amperon, who were then acquired by Shell. And I'm wondering how that experience has shaped your approach to Gridcognition.
Yeah, I guess my first observation of that experience is I think it's a reflection of the big changes underway in the energy system. So ERM acquiring, GreenSense and a number of other businesses at the time was really about the power sector business moving into energy solutions. And I guess the Shell's acquisition reflects on the oil and gas business moving kind of down into the power sector and again into the solutions space. The big trend we see is there's lots of legacy infrastructure in the energy system. And as we've got these new technology options like solar and batteries and EV charging, I guess that's causing traditional players to rethink their role in the market. And I think that's really at the heart of what Gridcognition is about. So GreenSense gave us a lot of experience with customers and behind the meter assets. And Amperon has a really good view of the market, and that gave us a good understanding of how to make money with these assets within the energy system. And so we kind of bring both of those together with data science in Gridcognition.
Yeah, that's it. And I get the impression it's also enabled you to move a bit quicker than usual, because in the last 6 months, without even having left stealth mode, we're kind of dragging you out of that. You've secured 3 big customers in WA. So what are you hoping to achieve over the next 6 months now that you've kind of people know about you?
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to properly publicly launch probably in October. We've kind of reached some key milestones with our product now. So we've started engaging with a kind of a wider group of customers, kind of on both the traditional supply side of energy, but also on the demand side. So that's large energy users and property businesses. And we think perhaps similar to Everty, we kind of think property businesses and real estate businesses are perhaps at the heart of the energy system transition. So we think they're kind of key players, and we're starting to engage with them as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So you touched on a few different types of people, but is there anyone particular you're looking to connect with at this point in time?
Yeah, look, we're interested in chatting to people who are grappling with complex distributed energy projects. So projects that incorporate multiple technologies, so solar systems, battery systems, load control, EV charging across perhaps multiple sites or within embedded network or microgrid structures. We think we've got some pretty clever technology and that we can optimize outcomes for project owners and project developers. So, anyone who'd like to tackle something sophisticated and complicated or simple, we'd love to help.
But you prefer the complicated?
We prefer the complicated, that's right.
Because it's more fun. Great, thanks, Fabian. We'll let you head off.
Thanks.
That was Fabian from Gridcognition. Go and chat to him about complicated distributed energy resource modeling projects afterwards in the breakout session. Hey, now on to one of our sponsors. I would like to invite Gary Edwards to the stage. Gary is Powerlink's Executive General Manager of Operations and Service Delivery. For those who aren't aware, Powerlink is one of the largest transmission network service providers in Australia, operating over 15,000 kilometres of power lines stretching from the north of Cairns all the way south to New South Wales border, but no further because the border's closed right now. They're also one of the strongest supporters of EnergyLab and our Scaleup program. Hi, Gary. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Clearly, I need a good startup, mature startup company to help me with my technology issues, maybe my issues. So thank you very much, James. My apologies to everyone.
Not at all. Everyone's getting used to this new hop-in platform. So, Gary, can you tell me, why do you think it's important for utilities like Powerlink to innovate?
When we think of Powerlink, what innovation is change that adds value, and the industry is just changing dramatically. It's nothing like it was 3 to 5 years ago, where it was philosophically coal-fired grid synchronous generators connecting to our transmission network, and in some respects, a lot of people bypassing the network and putting solar on their rooftops, and that's the new normal. That's the new world for Powerlink. So it's really vital that Powerlink's got a valuable role to play in providing safe, reliable, cost-effective electricity to the 5 million Queenslanders. Then hopefully we export over the NEM as well, and we can connect with our friends in Transgrid. It's vital for us. The transmission grid is changing, the use of electricity is changing, and we've got to be relevant to the future. So we need to innovate to match that. The shift to renewables is just the big disruption, the big game changer for transmission companies, and we think we've got a useful part to play in the industry going forward.
Yeah, I like that definition. Change that adds value, not change for the sake of change.
Thanks, James.
So tell us, I know you're doing a lot around innovation and with startups as well, but can you give us an example of what you've done to date to adapt to this changing grid landscape around Powerlink?
Certainly, thanks, James. Above and beyond the classic stuff like data is now an asset to Powerlink, and the use of data to become information to help run our network better. The connection of large-scale renewable generation, that is what we call asynchronous, that uses inverter technologies like wind and solar farms, is our greatest challenge. It's a different type of energy and a thing called system strength, the ability for our network and the industry to survive a bit of a hiccup, whereas the big rotating mass generators would just keep on rolling. Electronic technology doesn't do that, and we need to help those new generators connect to our operator network. So system strength is our big deal. It's the future, and how we understand what our customers want and how we provide a technology solution for that. And I think it's demonstrated with Arena to investigate the technical solution, but it's also the commercial, and we're a regulated industry, the regulated solution, so we can fit into the network to address those system strength issues is our burning imperative in Powerlink. It's complex, but we're trying to bring different ways of thinking to solve this problem, that's for sure.
Yeah, and on that point, there are a lot of different ways to innovate and change. Working with startups and scale-ups is one way to do that. So you see the role of scale-ups in your innovation process?
Absolutely. In the past, Powerlink was probably pretty self-sufficient. We've got a lot of great people, a lot of good minds at Powerlink. But what we've realised and recognised strongly is that we need that diversity of thinking, that bringing a different type of capability to our business, and that's what startups and scale-ups do for us. They bring the agility that perhaps a large organisation doesn't have, and we can benefit from that. And the experience of the diversity that scale-ups and startups have from other parts of their other customers that they can bring to us instead of internally Powerlink just solving its own solution. By working with those others, we can get better solutions more quickly, which is what we need. And then, I'll give you the pitch that's good for our customers. An example is we've been exploring how I've heard both Infravisions and Aurtra probably more specifically. We might leverage Infravision's drone line stringing. I know they've done a lot of work with our friends across the border in Transgrid. Similar things for us. Stringing transmission lines is a big deal, and certainly Infravision's got some pretty interesting techniques there. And Aurtra, we've got a lot of high-cost assets, big transformers. The condition and monitoring of those is really important. So they're the sort of things that we're looking at, not just those sort of activities, but anything that links in with our core operations is pretty interesting that scale-ups and startups can do for us.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know Infravision and Aurtra have really enjoyed engaging with Powerlink there so far, so it's hugely beneficial.
So thanks very much, James.
Great, and thanks, Gary, for coming along, and thanks also to you and your for the support so far. It's great to have you on board.
Apologies.
Oh, not at all. Okay, back to the startups. I would now like to invite Stu Philpott to the stage. Stu is the founder and CEO of UPowr, a digital, data-driven way for homes to install solar and batteries.
Hey, James.
So, Stu, your customer list is quite impressive. You've got PowerShop, Energy Australia, and some others on board already. So, what do you allow them to do that they couldn't do better than themselves?
Yeah, I think firstly, both PowerShop and Energy Australia have been amazing to partner with as a startup. However, we don't really see the energy retailers as specialists in the home services space. And we think UPowr is a great partner for the following reasons. We deliver a beautiful customer experience. We build great tech to create hyper-personalized quotes. And we curate the end-to-end customer experience through an amazing digital platform. It's also important to call out we're not limited to energy retailers, and we are starting to expand beyond energy retailers as B2B partners, which is pretty exciting for us.
Yeah. Now, Stu, you've worked on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to kind of organisation size in this space. Before launching UPowr, you were head of commercial partnership development at AGL New Energy. And so, wondering, did that experience help you spot the market opportunity for UPowr?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I worked with some great leaders, Elizabeth Brinton and Mark England, some real visionaries there. But I was fortunate enough to work on a couple of key projects in the New Energy group. The first one was the South Australian virtual power plant, where we deployed and installed 1,000 batteries down in South Australia. I helped grow and ultimately sell the ActiveStream digital metering business for $165 million. I was there from day zero all the way through to sale. I helped review and ultimately shut down the AGL residential solar business, and I also had the difficult and challenging job of closing down a national home services business unit. So I think it was a collection of those experiences that really, gave me the insight and I thought that we could provide in-home services, solar and battery in this instance, to customers in a much better way. And that was really the genesis of UPowr.
Yeah, well, that theory seems to be working so far.
Yeah.
Stu, it's been a huge year for UPowr, a number of achievements under your belt already. What's left on the to-do list for 2020?
Yeah, we definitely want to get A-Round ready, and that's really the focus of the business now. So the next, 4 to 6 months, which really aligns well to the Scaleup program, is going to be focused on securing a couple more partnerships, really, betting out our operational efficiencies and moving into, being in a position to raise some funds, probably early 2021.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you're looking to connect with investors, but is there anyone in particular, any types of partners you're looking to connect with?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to talk to investors, and we're also keen to talk to anyone that's interested in getting a solar and battery at their home. We're just about to launch our direct-to-consumer channel, and we're actually doing some in-house testing today. So if anyone's keen to sign up to a wait list, we could have them go through the platform and experience UPowr themselves in the coming week. So yeah.
Great, fantastic. Thanks, Stu.
Awesome. Thanks, James.
So that was Stu Philpott from UPowr. Go and chat to him about solar and batteries. I would now like to invite Andrew Clennett to the stage. Andrew is the founder and CEO of Hiringa Energy, who are developing commercial scale green hydrogen projects. And Andrew is calling in from New Zealand, so it may take him some while to get onto this virtual stage.
There we go. Hey, folks.
Hi, Andrew.
I didn't have to swim, so
oh goodness.
And I didn't have 14 days of quarantine to deal with when I arrived. So good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks for joining us, Andrew. So can you start by giving us a quick overview of the hydrogen projects you've got underway at the moment?
Yeah, so look, hydrogen is probably heard, one of the challenges of hydrogen is creating the chicken and egg and or sort of dealing with the chicken and egg challenge of supply of green hydrogen and focus and certainly our world to decarbonise systems right the way through to the use cases. So making sure that the vehicles are available, the uses are available. So we actually have been working projects all the way through that. So we've got some projects going on at the moment. We're just in the detailed stages of a wind to hydrogen project and a wind to ammonia project. That's sort of large scale industrial, and that's really getting larger size projects and getting the economics of green hydrogen in a good place. And we're partnering in a joint venture in that, right the way through to getting the fueling stations out there to be able to decarbonise fleets. And so Hiringa is developing a refueling network right across New Zealand. We're doing it in some phases. We've got 8 stations going in by 2022. Fairly aggressive rollout program, matching that with heavy vehicles and bringing heavy vehicles into the country. So we've got some projects that we recently announced around the first tranche of big line haul vehicles, which is an area that has a big impact. So we've kind of, if you like, really working that vertical. A key to us is partnering through that. So look, we don't have all the answers. We've come from a how do you unlock this? But you know, the expertise right the way through an energy system is many. There's wide and varied. So our approach is very much partnering, very much data driven. So we look at and understand the market, understand the partners, understand the energy systems, and look to really connect those dots. But the key is to unlock hydrogen is scale. You know, it's one of these things you can't toe dip. You need to go for a much larger scale.
Yeah, the MVP for a green hydrogen project isn't particularly minimal.
No.
So, Andrew, let's say about you. You worked in oil and gas for over 2 decades before setting up Hiringa. And what drove you to out of such a successful career into a green hydrogen company?
Look, I guess one of the things that I've always had a passion for is energy and unlocking energy for society. And the big shift that we've done in my background in oil and gas was bringing gas more in, reducing coal use and so on, unlocking and bringing energy to poorer countries, for example. But the whole time I was looking, hey, how could we do this without the emissions? How could we actually do the, if you like, the decarbonised version of this? So I've thought long and hard about this and with my friends and colleagues and tried to work out, well, actually, we can bring these skills, we can bring the capability of oil and gas to unlock some of the scale that's needed. So our ability to take on technology on scale, to implement infrastructure on scale, to manage the risks of that, to work out the commercial deals, to partner. I mean, partnering is a key element to manage and minimize risk. So look, I guess we realize actually, crikey, the skills that I've got in my background lend themselves wonderfully to unlocking these sort of new energy goals. But in our company, we still need the clean tech team. We need it's bringing the clean tech together with these sort of know-how of the energy sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great to have your expertise in this sector. There's a lot of work to do. So, Andrew, you mentioned you've got a number of projects underway at the moment. Where are you hoping to get them to in the next 6 months?
Yeah, so look, I mentioned the wind farm project, for example. We're going to final investment decision on that project. We've just gone through a key sort of gate with our partners on that. So final investment decision by year end is the target there, and get digging and building and installing those turbines. Also, prior to then these first stations, we've done the detailed design for the stations. They're ready to go. We're going through and the sequence of rollouts will be kicking off, and so those stations will be online by the middle of next year, and hitting the execution button here in the next month or two. So a lot to do though between now and this time next year. It'll be a very different world.
Yeah, we'll keep you busy. Now, is there anyone in particular you're looking to connect with?
Look, I think, as I mentioned before, our key model is partnering right the way through that sort of energy chain. So, look, we've got partners in trucking companies, trucking operating companies, leasing companies, regional councils looking to decarbonise sort of regional hubs and so on. Right the way through to our model is very much working with the renewable energy sector. We build some of our own renewable energy, but we also partner into that. We also are very interested in power purchase agreements in that. So finding right the way through, if you've got an interest in how can you tie this sort of challenge of the hydrogen through the ecosystem, we're definitely interested in talking to you. And with our projects that we have here in New Zealand, that's also a potential pathway if folks want to come and get involved and understand a little bit. Again, there's partnering opportunities, there are some investment opportunities in some of the infrastructure, and come and, if you like, learn, get to know us, and learn the knowledge, if you like, to then strategically bring that into Australia, because we absolutely think our business model is very repeatable into Australia, but we need partners to do that.
Fantastic, and hopefully we can help you find those partners. Thanks, Andrew. We'll let you head off.
Excellent, thank you.
That was Andrew Clennett from Hiringa Energy. Come join us in the breakout sessions afterwards to ask him all the questions you have about green hydrogen infrastructure. I would now like to invite Eric Kissy to the stage. Eric is the CEO of NGA Thermal, who provide clean, economical, and scalable energy storage. Hi, Eric.
Hello, James.
So, Eric, can you briefly, if you can, explain what your technology does and how it works?
Okay, so we've invented and developed an outwardly solid thermal energy storage material and associated technology. The material is made in the form of modules or bricks, and then we scale that up to very large size by merely adding more of them. The storage accepts heat from a number of different types of energy source, can store it for longish periods, even days, possibly weeks, and then we can dispatch that directly as heat, if that's what's needed, or through a steam turbine to generate electricity. And our first market is retrofitting fossil fuel power stations to turn them into grid scale energy storage facilities.
Yeah, fantastic. So forgive me for oversimplifying. So it sounds like you chuck big metal bricks in coal-fired power stations to turn them from carbon-intensive generators to carbon-neutral energy storage assets that can support renewable energy on the grid. Close.
Exactly.
Sure. I know I'm sorry oversimplifying. There's a lot of really smart stuff behind your technology. But let's talk about you for a moment, Eric, because still you have a very successful career at the University of Newcastle. You've authored more than 140 scientific publications, secured over 10 million in research funding, more than most entrepreneurs in this sector. So what convinced you to try something like as crazy as setting up an energy startup?
Well, we think we have a great solution to a really urgent problem. And after 6 years of development within the university, we still had very little commercial traction. And so, encouraged by some of the younger members of my team, we've made the realisation that commercialisation is not a spectator sport. If you want it to happen, you have to get out there and do it yourself. And so we did, with quite a bit of help from the CSIRO on program.
Yeah, it sounds like it was pester power from Alex and the others to really think of it.
Not really.
So, Eric, over the last 6 months, you have defied the odds by raising quite a large seed round from CP Ventures. In the middle of COVID-19, you've received an accelerating commercialization grant to bring some more capital into the business, and you've secured an international distribution partner. So that's a huge amount already, but what else is in store for the next 6 months?
Well, the accelerating commercialization grant, the focus of that is, or one of the foci, if you like, is to develop a pilot manufacturing plant in order to speed up production and scale up production. So that's a big thing for us for the next 6 months. We need to ramp up utility engagement so that hopefully we can sign an agreement for a pilot plant in a a pilot facility within a fossil fuel power plant sometime in 2021. And we're going to open a Series A investment round later this year, probably December.
Yep. So I imagine you're looking to connect with Series A investors, anyone who owns a fossil fuel generating power plant or fossil fuel based power plant, anyone else you're looking to connect with?
Well, we can offer value to fossil fuel generators, but we can also offer value to renewable generators because there'll be more and more curtailment over the next few decades, and somewhere to park that energy and get a return for it rather than not producing it at all might be valuable. But yes, energy savvy venture funds and private equity always welcome.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks, Eric. We'll let you head off.
Okay. Thanks, James.
That was Eric Kissy from MGA Thermal. Go and chat to him about large-scale energy storage later on. I would now like to invite Phil Cohn to the stage. Phil is the co-founder and COO of Renewable Energy Hub, a clean energy marketplace and analytics platform supporting transactions by generators, energy retailers, and customers. Hi, Phil.
Hi, James. How are you going?
Good. Phil, tell us, why do we need a platform like Renewable Energy Hub to help decarbonise the electricity sector?
Yes, it's a great question. So, part of the puzzle that we need to solve as we decarbonise the energy system is not only to get the physics of the system to work, so all the grid infrastructure and generating assets to be built and operational. We also need to solve or redefine how our markets, how the finance in our markets operates. And so that's where Renewable Energy Hub plays, is really redefining clean energy markets. So we're building at the moment a marketplace for large-scale renewable energy generators and retailers to trade energy in a different kind of way. At the moment, those clean energy generators are effectively locked out of the wholesale contract market that operates in Australia. So it's a $30 billion a year market that our clean energy generators can't access. And so we're trying to solve that problem for them by changing the nature of the contracts that are traded and building a digital platform where they can evaluate those trading opportunities. And in addition to that, in terms of we're solving that supply side of the equation, we also really want to make it easier for large commercial and industrial customers, so that is the demand side of the market, to go and procure clean energy. At the moment, it's kind of a triumph over adversity if a corporate can sign a PPA. It's a very challenging task to undertake. And we believe that shouldn't be the case. So if we can create the tools and the environment in the wholesale market, and therefore make it easier for commercial and industrial energy users to buy renewables, we'll think we'll go a long way to creating additional demand for clean energy in Australia.
Yeah, fantastic. So it sounds like you're removing both barriers to setting up wind farms and solar farms, also to removing barriers to people who want to consume more renewable electricity, both at the same time.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
Phil, let's wait, because you've a few people online might recognise you. You've been around the energy startup space for a while as an entrepreneur, an employee, and a funder. So how does that varied experience kind of play into your current approach to Renewable Energy Hub?
Yeah, I have been floating around for a little while. I've done a number of different startups. So I'm really passionate about the startup space. So I've founded my own business and successfully exited that. I've worked for 4 years at Arena prior to joining Renewable Energy Hub, where I was really fortunate to be able to provide a lot of funding support to clean energy startups. And I think that experience, both as an investor or funder of startups, as well as an entrepreneur myself, has really kind of taught me, one, a lot of technical skills about the energy market and how markets function and what makes them work well or conversely not function well. I think also in terms of building a business, I've got some of the scars on the back that you get from running a startup, recognizing that this is often a real marathon to build these businesses rather than a sprint. We often think about startups as being really exciting and sexy things that grow overnight. And I think experience and talking to a lot of the entrepreneurs in the cohort confirms this, having the stamina and the focus to continue to deliver day in, day out. I think the third thing would be the team. Critical to your success and realizing the vision you have for startup is building a really great team around you in order to execute. And so we've been in the process of building our team further this year, and based on some traction and success, we'll continue to build that team into the end of 2020.
Yeah, fantastic. So speaking of 2020, what is on the roadmap for the next 6 months?
Yeah, so we've got some really exciting developments planned for the next 6 months. So we go live with our digital marketplace in the coming month. And so that'll start off with our focus on wholesale market participants getting involved there. So we've been running effectively what's called an over-the-counter type market, so non-digital market. We've been running that over the last 12 months, and we've got about 15 counterparties already trading in the clean energy-backed contracts that we've developed. So we'll be looking to kind of digitize that by launching our marketplace, and then pushing really quickly then to also get large commercial and industrial customers involved. That's a key focus for us, is the launch of our digital platform. And we'll also be kind of, we've got one eye on putting a person or two in Japan as our next market. So we are thinking from day one about international growth for us. So building a great strong foundation here in Australia, but then also looking at potential expansion into the Japanese market. So those are two really key pieces of work that are taking up all of our time over the next 6 months.
Fantastic. So to that end, anyone in particular you're looking to connect with at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, with our marketplace, we have the suppliers of clean energy. So we're really keen to chat to clean energy generators and providers, electricity retailers, those two kind of key groups of customers for us on the supply side. And then on the demand side, we're really keen to chat to large commercial and industrial customers that want to try and do procure clean energy, but have been potentially put off or found it really challenging to date to kind of crack that nut, so to speak. So I think those three groups would be fantastic to have a chat with about our plans.
Great. Well, thanks, Bill. We'll let you head off.
Great. Thanks, James. Great.
Thanks, Bill. That was Bill Cohen from Renewable Energy Hub. Going to have a chat to him about renewable energy transactions as either a generator or a large consumer. Now, finally, I would like to invite Ben Hutt to the stage. Ben is the CEO of Evergen, a renewable energy software business that enables smarter energy by optimizing energy storage systems and orchestrating large fleets of batteries to enable virtual power plants. Welcome, Ben.
Good afternoon, James, everyone.
So, Ben, can you explain what Evergen software allows people to do that wouldn't be as possible or as easy to do without it?
Sure. So Evergen began its life about 5 years ago through a collaboration between our friends at CSIRO and AMP Capital, who's a large infrastructure investor who cares deeply about the evolution of the electricity system in Australia and elsewhere in the world. And it started out as software that makes behind-the-meter battery assets, so sort of a battery a homeowner might have in their house, perform better, improving the economics, improving the performance, and sort of overall making everything work better for the consumer. And what we've been focused on over the last 18 months is sort of taking all of those things and all of the things we've learned with having 1,000 consumers with various different types of batteries, Teslas and Alphas and other types out in the field, taking those learnings, redefining the consumer experience, and then focused now on bringing those assets together in big fleets, so virtual power plants of lots of different shapes and sizes, so that not only does the consumer benefit, but the network operator benefits, the retailer benefits, and overall, like, we're building towards a more resilient energy system of the future.
That sounds fantastic. Ben, let's chat about you. So before Evergen, you had a successful career outside the sector, including co-founding Search Party Group, successfully listing on the ASX as CEO only 4 years later. So what convinced you to first step into the energy sector?
That's a good question, James. So I think the Search Party was a really interesting sort of 4 or 5 years for me. We founded a company, we grew it really, really big, and we sort of got beyond the limits of venture funding in Australia. We'd raised about $25 million. And whilst we had teams overseas, we didn't want to go to the US, so we listed. Ultimately, the listing didn't go particularly well over the 18 months after the listing, but we learned an immense amount, and I carry kind of lots of wisdom from that journey with me. I then spent sort of 2.5 years running corporate innovation programs for Slingshot with people like Qantas and News Corp, where we were selecting amazing startups and then helping the corporates partner and invest in those companies, a bit like you are today. And during that period, it sort of reaffirmed that there's really only 2 things I'm good at. One of them is solving really complex problems and helping businesses grow. And the other one is picking amazing teams and inspiring people to do impossible things. And so pretty late on that, I got a call from our wonderful chairman, Michael Cummings from AMP Capital, sort of saying, hey, Ben, we've got this amazing opportunity with Evergen. And we have some ideas on how to help it grow. And I was blessed to be given the opportunity to kind of help Evergen grow. I've been in the job about 18 months now. It's been amazing. We built a fabulous team of about 45 people, 60% of which are software engineers and data scientists. And we're really making good progress now, solving some of the most complicated problems that face the system.
Yeah, and you and your team are obviously doing something well, because Evergen's already a very well-known name. It's a major player in the energy sector. You're going to work in a number of utilities across Australia. So what's next in store for Evergen? What are you hoping to achieve over the next 6 months?
Well, we are in the next 6 months bringing to life some really exciting industry partnerships with utilities. So bringing big fleets of batteries, whether they be in one case sort of 5,000 household batteries, in another case it might be 6 utility scale or grid scale batteries, into virtual power plants with different retailers and different network operators. So I think in about 6 months, we probably will have about 50 megawatts of storage under control and under our influence being traded in the energy markets, which will be really exciting. So what we're really looking for today, and the sort of people that I'd love to speak to if they're around, is anyone that's interested in how batteries can drive value as part of the energy system. So whether you're a network operator or a retailer or a distributor of batteries, we're keen to talk to you because we're in the business of making these things work better for everyone.
Fantastic. So you're looking to chat to people about batteries and maximising the value of those. Anyone else you're looking to connect with, or any final words?
Look, we're collaborators by nature, so I'm really excited about the cohort here, the Saroon's founders. There's lots of opportunities for us to work with and partner with other people trying to disrupt the energy industry. So anyone that's interested in testing, learning, collaboration, exploring some opportunities, like, we are very open to that kind of conversation.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Ben, for joining us, and we'll see you very soon in those breakout sessions.
Thanks, James.
That was Ben Hutt, the CEO of Evergen. Joining him very soon in the breakout sessions to chat about virtual power plants and maximising the value of batteries. Okay, so we're now at the end of this webinar part of this event. So firstly, thank you very much for your attention over the last hour and 15 minutes. We hope you are as inspired as we are by what these founders have already achieved and their visions for the future.